Merry Christmas. Hello and thanks for joining the first edition of Journalist Hangout. This week, I'm Ayodele Zubakun. We have 53 more days to the conduct of the 2019 elections in Nigeria, as each passing day brings us closer to the all-important polls. Keep a date with us for in-depth information and analysis. Today on the show, ASUU strike lingers as union vows not to return to honor government's call for meeting any longer. APC PDP bicker over refusal of Akwa Ibom state government to permit use of stadium for campaign. Police deploy more personnel to Zamfara community after attack. And later on the show, confusion over the seized $2.8 million funds as bank confirms ownership. EFCC says investigation is ongoing. I'll be hanging out with Mayor Akipelu, Dari Odufaokon, and Cheta Wanze. So if you are ready, let the hangout start now. Merry Christmas, house. Everybody, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Mayor. Merry Christmas. And Cheta, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Wow.
Thanks for the
So we just counting now. It's just 24 hours to Christmas, and we thank God for life.
It's already Christmas in New Zealand and Tonga.
24 hours? I mean, it's like 8 hours.
Yeah?
Some people, it will be, okay, maybe people, places like Australia.
Even New Zealand, it's Christmas already.
It's Christmas already.
And Tonga is Christmas already.
To all our followers, to all our viewers that you follow journalists and Hangout across the world, because I can't say across Nigeria, our friends in Europe, our friends everywhere across the world in America, Merry Christmas. Wishing you compliments of this season. The ongoing strike by university lecturers may persist longer than expected. The atmosphere of mistrust between the parties concerned appears to be taking a toll on the negotiation for the agreements that will put a permanent stop to the lingering strike. The Academic Staff Union of University, ASUU, says it may no longer honor further calls by the federal government for meetings on the way out of the doldrums. Speaking at a news conference on the issue in Lagos, ASUU National President Professor Abiodun Ogunyemi said series of consultative meetings and letters between the union and government towards ending the industrial action, which began on November the 4th, had so far not produced any effect. According to him, government appears to have adopted the keep them talking strategy to deceive the public into belief that progress is being made. Are we torn between false hope and no hope? Let us hear ASUU from ASUU President.
Government appears to have adopted the keep them talking strategy while deceiving the public that progress was being made and that partial agreement had been reached between the government and the union. Through its press interactions, government representatives had falsely raised the hopes of the Nigerian public on the state of discussion with our union. Our expectation from a very responsible and responsive government is that by now, all outstanding issues will have been resolved to the satisfaction of both parties. Unfortunately, government is here to show sincerity in addressing the problem.
Cheta, let me start from you. I've always known or heard about ASUU strike since, like forever. I would say since my days in the university.
I grew up on a university campus.
Where?
Benin.
So
ASUU strike was the staple.
The same old tradition and everything. But one thing, this is the 2009 agreement. And it's rather unfortunate that successive governments they've decided to ignore the terms of this agreement. And if we had an agreement since 2009 and this 2018, why do you think government is for dragging?
The government is for dragging because there's no money. Simple. Let's face it. The agreements, at least from my viewpoint, is an agreement that is impossible to implement. And I know that my father listener is probably going to throw away his coffee now, but ASUU needs to wake up to the reality. The real problem with Nigerian education, from my viewpoint, is at basic level. That's where government funding really needs to be implemented. The Wale Babalakin statements, which ASUU kicked against, and Professor Ogonyemi really got very angry over, was the truth. The universities need to be autonomous. We can't afford to, as a country that has a very minuscule figure devoted to education, then we have a case where almost 52% of our entire education budget goes into the universities. It simply doesn't work. So the situation is that the governments, and it's not just the Buhari government, the Jonathan government before it, the Yar'Adua government before it was the one that signed the agreement. Whatever government replaces Buhari, whether in 2019, whether in 2023, they are going to keep foot dragging on this issue. We are going to still keep facing these labor problems until we get to the reality on the ground.
What's the reality? The
reality on the ground is that the government of Nigeria can no longer afford to continue funding these universities wholesale, especially to the tune that ASUU wants.
Babalakin spoke about a student bank. And I looked at him that this is like a borrowed.
I mean, it's basically a shotgun to the temple. It's not going to happen. Again, university education anywhere else in the world is quite expensive. It's in Nigeria that we have this very subsidized university education. We have a situation where we are not funding them properly. We keep hearing of have big graduates, have big graduates, have big graduates. There's a reason why the graduates are half big. They don't have the standard. They don't get anywhere near the standards of the rest of their colleagues around the world. When I graduated from engineering a decade and a half ago, and then I went for my master's. At the time, I wasn't that far behind my contemporaries when I arrived for my master's. But fast forward a few years, and a colleague of mine who graduated and went for his master's had to do classes in order to catch up. These other guys had gone so far ahead. And that's the risk that we're facing. The first risk we're facing is not even from the university level. It's from the basic level. We have, 13.2 million children out of school, according to the latest, to the UBEC, the head of UBEC. That's the real issue. He disagrees with me.
Yeah, of course I do. I disagree with you.
Okay, let me allow you to disagree.
You know why I disagree with you?
Yeah.
What is happening in ASUU is a tragedy. And the tragedy is that we don't take education seriously in this country. Yes, I agree that it is expensive to fund the education.
Very expensive university
I agree.
education.
But we have to provide the money. Every country that wants to be great, you have to take the education of your citizens seriously. In the 70s, when we have emerging markets in the 70s, what it was considered as emerging markets, Nigeria was a leading light in those emerging markets. There was Singapore, there was Malaysia, there was India. Everybody has gone. India has had atomic bomb. They manufacture planes. We are still at the level of not funding universities. We have to tell ourselves whether we want to be serious or not. You cannot have a great country when your citizens are illiterates. The government that can spend trillions to subsidize fuel, our government pays, this same government pays trillions to subsidize fuel.
It's not subsidizing, it's under recovery.
But it's subsidy. They claim they don't want to pay subsidy, but now they just paid the marketers now December, but when they threaten that they are going to shut the depot.
For the
if you can spend trillions just to satisfy the fancies of the elites, because majority of people who use your fuel are those with cars and all that. But so you have to, what I'm saying is that I agree that the government is constrained and not this government that signed that agreement with ASUU. I concede that. But we have to tell ourselves the truth that we need to devote the large chunk of our budget on education.
Dari, let me allow you to take your opening salvo.
Thank you very much. I would quickly want to say this, that I also disagree with him. Okay. And I disagree with him not largely on the permutations you put on the table as way out of this doldrum, but because of certain things that will have to be done if we are to go your way. One thing is, you ended your speech by saying millions of school-age children out of school.
13.2 million.
If we decide to stop seeing university education as something that government should do for the people, then we are going to have problems of millions of university-age youths out of school very soon. And that's going to be, that's going to be a huge problem for us. Criminalities are there, peer problems are there, and if we now have these people, the only thing they look forward to growing up, I want to go to university, perhaps I'll get a chance to be a better person. If you take that away from them, we'll create problems that the fund we are conserving will not be able to solve. Secondly, we also talk about what happens in other countries. I really get worried when we do these comparisons and it's one-sided. Abroad, let's mention the countries in the United Kingdom. The governments there ensure that their own people can go to school.
Of course.
It's a must.
And they subsidize it.
And foreign students like you and I go there and pay through our nose to keep their own children in the school, in the universities.
But then what percentage of UK children go to the university?
They go to the universities. All those who want to go to university in UK, who are of United Kingdom origin, have equal chances of going to university.
Well,
we stand another risk.
Some of them are not interested.
They are just a good number. That's because they are not interested. Now let me add this quickly.
We have a limited number of species.
No. They are.
We must keep that in mind.
That they are not interested is a different ballgame. Now let me add this. We have a lot of skilled systems in Nigeria already. If we add education to it, then you are going to ruin the masses.
The education is already skilled.
If university education is skilled already,
yes,
private schools, public schools, the rich, ASUU is on strike now. I've seen a number of withdrawals and re-entries. Oh, you have to leave that your public school and go join a private school. It's currently happening. Barely 2 months into this.
That's why we have private investors.
Now, once the private
and the quality of the private university is not
already
terrible.
Terrible,
it depends,
unimaginable.
It depends on which.
If you now have
only
a situation,
if
you now have a situation where public university is also expensive, if you have a situation where public university also becomes as expensive as private, then you are telling the poor, look, your kids won't go to school again. Okay, and that's my own worry.
That was a bone of contention.
How many universities are in the United Kingdom? Let's start with that.
Yeah, I don't have the figures.
96.
Oh, good.
How many of them are publicly funded?
Yeah, go on.
There are not many.
Good.
Now, the point is this. There's an endowment system. Okay. The government cannot afford, as of the last time I checked, we have 137 government-owned universities in Nigeria. Compare the GDP of the city of London to the GDP of Nigeria.
With 97.
With less than.
With less than. So the point is, the reason our system is broken from the beginning.
Cheta, let me put you on hold. Let me take my first caller. Kayode is calling us from Ondo State. Merry Christmas, Kayode.
Merry Christmas to you there.
All right, go ahead with your contribution.
Thank you for bringing this very important issue up this evening. And I want to thank your panelists.
Okay.
The truth of the matter is that it is not that government does not have that money. But in Nigeria, we have what we call misplaced priority. There are a lot of waste in the system. We always talk of money for this, money for that. The truth of the matter is that all those countries that have developed, that have been mentioned, there is something, we are in the knowledge economy. If you don't develop the university education, there is no way the country like in Nigeria can move forward. Even we are talking of infrastructure. Look at infrastructure that are being built. We bring the human resources from China, from other even countries that we should have gone ahead to come and develop our human resources. And we have the brains in Nigeria. But the truth of the matter is that we are not spending our money on the right things. I want to tell you,
thank you,
a country like Ghana, that is very close to us here, the way they take education is not that it's not the way we take education.
Thank you, Kayode.
Like somebody said.
So before we take our breather, let me allow Cheta to just wrap up his point.
Okay. The basic point is this: the most important aspect of education, based on where we are, is our basic education. Correct. If we cannot fix the basic education, any money that we carry and pump into the universities will be a waste. Because there's a study that shows that students who
Cheta,
giving the wrong
sorry, I have to interrupt you again. Let me take this breather. We'll take this break. When we come back, we'll discuss more. We're still on the ASUU crisis. Please stay with us. This is Journalist Hangout. We are reaching you live from Television Continental here in Lagos and Nigeria, and we are looking at the we're looking at the crisis between the federal government and the academic staff union of Nigerian University. Cheta.
Yeah, so my point remains. The most important issue that we are facing right now is basic education. If we don't fix basic education, any money that we put down in federal universities or in university education will be a waste. Because take, for example, the foundation, maths. If a student doesn't understand basic maths concepts, by the time he's 10, there's nothing you can do to make him understand them for the rest of his natural life. This is a fact. It's a scientific study. It's a fact. Now, secondly, we have a situation where the universities alone, we've not talked about polytechnics or any other thing, universities alone are consuming 52% of the entire education budget. We have a situation where 52.
Yeah. Just like the federal government goes.
That kind of thing. We have a situation where NYSC is consuming almost as much as the universities and more than the primary schools, the secondary schools. NYSC. That's lopsided already. And that's my point. We can't keep having 137 federal, because even the state universities, let's be honest, the state universities are by the back door federally funded. They are all coordinated by the NUC. They all get a lot of money through TET fund, whatever money they get. And again, the country, because it sounds nice to say, oh, increase the budget. But Nigeria has a debt to service ratio of 60%, which means, debt to revenue ratio, which means that for every dollar we earn as a country, or better still, for every naira, 60 kobo goes into debt revenue. And then recurrent expenditure takes almost 38 kobo, which means that we have 2 kobo left for every other thing, including capital expenditure. Capital expenditure includes books, it includes every other thing. We simply don't have the money. So it is time for us. I mean, the UK became a developed nation with less than 5% of its population as university graduates. This is a fact.
Less than 5%.
Less than 5%, Industrial Revolution era. So these are facts. These are things. It can be done. It has been done in other places. But until we are ready to cut our coat according to our size and start doing things the way other countries have done it, we need to learn to crawl before we walk. We are trying to be where they are without even having a single university in this country that has an endowment.
I agree with you that the basic education in Nigeria is broken. It needs to be fixed. I agree with that. We need to work on the foundation. I agree with that. But that has nothing to do with your funding university education. What I'm saying, I'm not saying university education alone. We must fund education across board.
Can we afford to?
We have to look for, we can afford it. And I'll tell you why we can afford it. I will tell you. I know that we are going through difficult times, but in a country where a lot of your public service workers don't do anything, some civil servants will go to an office and they will be selling, they have businesses, they have shops, they have things that they do, and you pay them salary. We have to be realistic. Our public service is bloated. We have to do something about it. A lot of our states are not viable. You understand? We pay too much money for public officers. You have a senator in prison that still collects 14 million every month, and it's justified that it's okay.
Final point, please. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
Because we need to do this thing in numbers now.
Okay.
First things first, Nigeria's budget. What has been our highest budget ever in reality?
I think last year.
7-8 trillion?
No, 2014. Convert it to USD at the prevailing rate.
No, you won't know because we don't spend.
No, we have.
You cannot be converting things to US dollar. Do we spend dollar?
Considering the fact that we are an import-dependent economy. Please, I need to make this point.
No, hold on. Okay. In spite of this brilliant analysis by Cheta, quite brilliant, we must look at what I will call the pedestrian realities. In spite of the analysis, the budget is skewed. We have problems there. We need to take care. We are having misplaced priorities. Facts. But what is the reality on ground today? Our universities need attention.
Yes.
Either we have the money
the entire education system.
Let me make my point.
Okay.
You've been talking about the entire education. What we have on our hands now is an ASUU strike. I'm a realist. If we say the primary and secondary education is having a problem, now problem is bearing its head in the university. Should we add that to what we have on our hand?
The Senate just passed a bill to open new universities.
Let's fund the universities to a point where those operating it, or the ASUU and co, will agree to the fact that, yeah, we have a system that is working. What we have on our eye is to look at what happens to us. I mean, what do we lose or gain if we don't? It is when we realize what we lose or gain if we don't fund universities properly that we understand why we need to listen to what. Actually, it's not asking. Gone are the days when all they ask for is more money, more salary.
Cheta,
They're asking
what is
for
Ghana doing? What is
infrastructure.
Togo doing? What are those other West African doing?
It is, we can't just keep comparing.
Number one,
We cannot keep. How many students do we have?
Comparison
How many
is
universities?
you see,
before
comparison.
now,
You have
we made
to.
mistakes.
It's called comparative analysis.
increasing
You
the
have to
number of
compare.
universities.
You can't avoid comparison.
We were
It's
increasing
called-
the number of
you
universities.
can't avoid
Now we are
comparison.
saying we cannot
Now,
fund them.
these guys, they have a fewer number of universities,
Far fewer.
and they have a far lower student to
Seeking
population
admissions.
ratio.
And a
That
lot
is
of
where
them
we
are
went
even in
wrong.
Nigeria
That is
seeking
where
admission to our universities.
and a lot of us are in their countries.
Just recently, I would
quality
say.
education.
Just recently.
No.
When our systems, while we were in school, that was when
It was when our education got broke.
About 10 years before. You were in school about 10 years before me.
Yes.
When I was in school, a lot of
So
my
you
own classmates were
told
in
me
Ghana.
in the 70s?
So
we were going to Ghana
no,
in
it's
the
not 70s.
80s?
No,
We were
no,
going to
no,
Ghana.
no,
It started in the 90s.
It started in the 90s.
Late
when
90s.
there was a proliferation of universities. We have more universities.
No,
that we can
it
cater
started
for.
with the
And then
strikes.
when
All right,
the students-
it started with the strikes.
So then-
We have too many
Too many
universities.
universities.
We have too many universities that we cannot fund. I agree
And
with
we can't
that.
fund
a
them.
reasonably high students to population ratio.
There's nothing we can
Well,
do.
so what do you do about it? It's our
Because the
population.
Okay, as we leave it
Because
there,
it's our population.
I remember the time when we.
So we should listen to ASUU and
when I
solve
had
this
my
problem.
jam, we were 35,000 students that had sat for jam across the country. The last jam, somebody told me
989.
that 2 years ago, 1.2 million, 1.3 million people.
And what do you do about
sat for
that?
jam. So
What do you do about that?
I think
Because we
let's
got,
leave there.
we got to the point where, again,
people.
the whole thing comes from, it's a bottom, we have 43%,
Government has a
43%
responsibility.
Okay, let's leave it there.
So companies are saying,
We don't have time.
leave it there.
Sincerely,
Okay, let's leave it
government has a
there. We have
responsibility
to.
to the
We'll
people.
revisit it. It's an ongoing thing. Since ASUU, they said the battle line has been drawn, that they are not interested in any negotiation.
And it's not
They're
just the
interested in
federal
anything.
government, even state governments.
It's campaign season in Nigeria, when actions and inactions of individuals, groups, or governments are given political colorations. The All Progressive Congress (APC) is built to kick off President Muhammadu Buhari's campaign in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, on Friday. Very strategic. But the party's plan to use the 30,000 capacity Godswill Akpabio International Stadium, Uyo, has been turned down by the state government on the ground that the activities like campaign cannot hold there to avoid damage of the grass because of local league. Though this did not go down well with APC, but the state government insists that it will practically be unwise to use the stadium for such events when the new football season in the country is around the corner. I think the NFF gave January 5th or 6th. The state government has, in alternative, approved the use of Uyo Township Stadium for the event. Gentlemen, this is a deja vu of what happened between Rotimi Amechi and
Good luck, Jonathan.
Wike. Yes, good luck, Jonathan. Wike was the Minister of State for Education, and Chibike Amechi was the governor. And good luck, Jonathan wanted to use the Adosegre Amaka Stadium, which is bigger and everything. But
said no, go and use.
So, but at the end of the day,
Table is
I
turning.
think it is irresponsible of Akwa State government to do this nonsense they are doing. One, Anthony Joshua had a boxing tournament at Wembley Stadium, and weeks after, the English team played in that stadium. I consider when you hold
said
event-
weeks after.
I said just barely
Okay.
weeks. We
This
still have about
28
the 12. Something will start by 12. They still have about more than 3 weeks. You understand? Almost
So that the grass will not die.
No, let me tell you something. When you have effects like that, when you have events like that, it will affect the grass. But it's not that it will make the grass the pitch unplayable. But you see, what we need to tell ourselves is that this nonsense that politicians do should stop. That is why we must concentrate on institutions and not personalities, so that people will not just wake up and just say what they like. Because if we allow that to happen, that it continues to happen. The federal government now will also want to use their own power to victimize the so-called opponents in another party. We don't need that. Why should it's even insulting for the state governor to deny the president of the country the use of the stadium on basis that Akwa United will play a football match there. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Dari.
Yeah, well, I see it from a slightly different perspective, sincerely. And it is because I want to ask questions. One, do we have it on record that Emmanuel and his PDP have not used that same stadium for any of these their rallies they be having up and down? I don't want to be too certain about anything here.
Okay.
If they have not, well, I want to cut some slacks for him. But if they did in the past, not too long ago, and now we have this beautiful reason of a football season to stop Mr. President, I'm worried. Secondly, I will want to, I mean, we're in the season of remembering Bola Ige, and this came when, remember Sidon Luke. I want to sit down, look and see if shortly after and before that same season, PDP is also planning rallies, both state and national. Let's see if they will not use that same stadium. And if they do, then the questions have been answered. But to agree with what Mayor said, you see, this has happened in 1 or 2 states before Akwa Ibom. Maybe we didn't take notice. The same thing happened in Imo, or I would say something similar. The APC, including the national chairman of that party, were to use a venue in Owerri for the flag off of the gubernatorial campaign. And an APC governor, in person of Owele, Anayo, Okorosha, decided otherwise, telling them they can use the streets if they like. That venue was not properly sought, and therefore he cannot bend the rules and allow his national chairman to. You see, like
We cannot be doing that.
my boss here said, if we continue with this style, and Buhari now said, okay, you are going to have an event, I declare a national holiday or state of emergency to stop your own event, we are going to have chaos on our hand. You see, we must not take politicking to the point where we begin to appear disrespectful. I'm looking at the situation. Sorry.
Governor Udom as this very gentleman.
That's my perception of him. Sorry, I want to.
Oh, my producer is insisting that we take this breather. So we go on break. When we come back, we'll discuss more. Just cool the tension. The last 3.5 years, Akwa Ibom, you just say Akwa Ibom State has been a very peaceful state, and I don't know.
Is it really?
Yeah, as in, since the emergence of Udom Emmanuel, but since the Akwa Ibom moved to the All Progressives Congress, it has been at the center of the news.
The man out of Udom.
Now, I was in Uyo last week. I discovered that Uyo is now polarized, as in there's this
Visibly.
APC, PDP across the
Splits
board.
down the middle.
Somebody is talking about Sima Ikere here, and that's the NDC man, and another person is talking about Udom. And as you are entering the airport from Uyo Airport, the first thing you see, the wickedness of something. I know if you're in Uyo watching me, you know that airport. But I just read it, I didn't understand it, but I was told that it's the state government. What's that mean?
See, my own take on this whole stadium thing is, my people say when the mother cow is chewing, the child is watching her mouth. The Buhari government denied Rabiu Kwankwaso the use of Eagle Square some months back when he wanted to flag off his presidential campaign. So my own, what goes around comes around. Somebody will deny Emmanuel Udom something sooner rather than later. So it's bad behavior. Let's not get it straight. But again, if we want to do what Mr. Mayor hates and compare with other countries, the stadium is not even supposed to be owned by the government. It's supposed to be privately run and privately managed. And the APC should approach the managers of the stadium and ask how much does it cost to use this facility for these events.
Of course,
There is a management.
Well, in the Owerri case, in the Owerri
but in Akwa Ibom, they will have done that if they want to use the stadium.
well,
both cases,
anyway,
they did
that excuse wasn't given
In
in
both
the story.
cases,
In the story
they
I
did
read
that
on Premium Times, that excuse wasn't given.
for
But about
Akwa
this,
Ibom.
yeah, But yeah, but be that as it may, the point is we play particularly vicious brand of politics here, and so it's everybody who is playing the same game. If you want to bring out examples of the PDP doing this, having this kind of bad behavior, we can bring out bad examples of the APC doing this kind of bad. It is bad behavior all around. It's disrespectful to the office of President of Nigeria, and even if you don't like the man who is occupying the office, you have to respect the office. Those are things that we need to learn to imbibe. Speaking of politics in Akwa Ibom, it's kind of, I'm trying to find a polite word, interesting right now what's happening. You see, there's been this zoning thing which they've respected. It's gone from Uyo to Ikotekpene, then to Ekets. And I think Udom Emmanuel is from Ekets. And there are people, Nsima Ekere, who is vying on behalf of the APC, is also from Ekets. And there are people who are asking, that will be, I mean, if Nsima Ekere gets in there, he's not going to want to do it only one time.
Do you people feel
that question is being asked, and it's going to be a factor. And unfortunately, I think the comments made by Akpabio when he crossed about Warsaw and all of that, it was a very unfortunate comment, because a lot of people appear to have, hence that sign you saw, which I have seen too. A lot of people appear to have taken it to heart. So Akwa Ibom is one of the states that my organization is watching and saying, it's like a mattress has just been struck and put there. It's sad. It's sad all around. Beautiful states.
It might be a major flashpoint.
It will be a major flashpoint.
The two gladiators are people with means and capacity. And Akwa Ibom is one state over the years that has been known to move in one particular direction. This is the first time since 1999 there will be strong opposition in Akwa Ibom. The very first time. There have been pockets where the likes of Duede and others have tried in the past.
And they were promptly shut down.
But largely
Former SSG.
But this time around, the man who is saying as the godfather of the politics of the state is up in arms against a sitting governor. And
the political godson.
His own political godson. They are members or were members of the same political camp. So what we have is that all the foot soldiers in that camp are divided into two. The chieftains of Anita to one United Party are now divided. So we are going to see a lot of unexpected activities happening in Akwa Ibom as we approach the election.
I think we should stop this bad behavior. Yes, it happened. APC used to do it. APC, all of them used to. Politicians generally. But let us get serious. There are certain things, if we want to move forward, we should not be doing elementary things. Because if you deny somebody a usage of a particular place, does not add or subtract to anything. We should strengthen our institutions instead of allowing some individuals to play God.
All right, moving on now. Zamfara State in northwest Nigeria is still reeling from attacks by bandits on some villages recently. But the cheering news is that security agencies are intensifying efforts to bring lasting peace to the states. The State Police Command says it has deployed another police unit to Magami in Maradun local government area, where bandits killed some villagers, according to the statement by Command's public relations officer, Mohammed Shehu. The unit comprises of police, mobile force, counter-terrorism unit, and federal special anti-robbery squad. Cheta, Zamfara, I think we are making kind of progress in Zamfara State. It's not as bad as it used to be.
I beg to differ on that. It's really horrible in Zamfara State, and of the 14 local government areas in that state, the only one that has some relative peace now is Gusau.
That's the capital.
The capital. Gumi especially is a particularly bad. It's in a particularly bad state. What we have is a situation where bands of people are roving around the state almost unchallenged. And you said that it's comforting that the police were deploying. I beg to differ on that. After all, 3 weeks ago, the police deployed to Zamfara and they were ambushed. And for 4 days or so, the police pretended it didn't happen. Did not tell. It took some of the widows or some of the wives of policemen who were deployed going to do some sort of protest before they began to inform them who had been killed. The first issue with all of these conflicts, it started as a cattle rustling thing. Yep. It's that we've not seen anybody, and it's the same thing that applies to the whole Boko Haram, the pastoral conflict in the Middle Belt, many of Nigeria's various strands of conflict, because we have at least 6 different strands of conflict in the country. The people who are putting money on the ground for these boys to do what they are doing are not being brought to justice. It's one thing if Ayodele is the person that is paying myself, Mr. Mayo, and Mr. Dari to go and cause katakata, and then they pick 3 of us. He will simply find somebody else to pay. So that's the big issue. We are not we are not investigating all of these things to the logical conclusion. 1. Number 2, and I keep saying it, Nigeria's biggest problem, the problem from which all the other problems spring from, is our unemployment rates. We have too many young boys, too many boys my age and below who wake up in the morning and have nothing to do.
Jobless.
That statement, and I don't mind this devil's workshop, comes very handy in this case. These boys will do anything just to get by. One of the places in Lagos here, I get frightened when I'm passing through Relay, because I see boys at 3 in the afternoon just sitting down.
Relay Gomu?
Or really, yeah, just that when you come out from Surulere and that stretch, you see boys just sitting down doing anything. One of the in this Lagos, no, I've taken it. I've made it a point of duty to avoid Bariga after the last time I saw something there. After the last time I saw something there, I think, or is it? I have cousins who live in Femi Okuno in Lekki, and I'm frightened for them because just across. There's Jack on there, and you have so many boys who have nothing to do. All it takes is for somebody with the means to sort them to cause trouble, and you have mayhem.
I'll go with him. I'll go with him talking about Zamfara, because weeks here we've been discussing Zamfara, and this week we are here worried. Next week the news will come. Certain things are in the pipeline. And Ayo is there. He knows my usual response to that. I think we've had enough of plans. Let's see things happening. Zamfara is fast becoming another unattended to chaos. The Boko Haram situation we have on our heart today largely is a product of nonchalance on the part of the system. Because if we say government, somebody will tell me that was Jonathan's government. It's a continuum. This thing is, it continues.
Government is government.
Government is government. So we rather look at our system. What kind of system are we running? A system that looks at a situation that promptly needs military intervention and keeps the police on it.
And this is where...
A system that looks at policemen being deployed to go and meet so-called bandits, being disarmed, killed, and then the system still believes that we still need to handle these people with kid's glove. I am worried that Zamfara is a spillover of what is happening in the Northeast. You see, one of the Boko Haram commanders arrested did say that some of their deserters, he used the word deserters, they now have deserters too. People who got tired of fighting and they need a place to just stay away from the chaos. Now what do? They move to Zamfara, they move to Kaduna, form gangs, dispossess people of their hard-earned money, kill people, maim people, and then go home to rest in the night. They don't have to face real war. These are the people operating in this area. Government should move in and do it swiftly. We are taking it for granted.
I would like to look at it from the positive side. I think it's positive things for the deployment, because what we have in Zamfara, unlike Boko Haram is a terrorist organization. What we have in Zamfara is basically criminal gangs. And the only way you can confront them is to deploy more policemen to do that. But I agree that we have to look for the root causes of the problem in Zamfara, which has to do with making it easier for our youth to be recruited, or the willingness to join criminal gangs. And we must also look at what they said by saying that we must look for those who are sponsoring these gangs, because sometimes some of them are used as soldiers of fortune. When there's a crisis somewhere, they recruit them as mercenaries and all that. But basically, they are criminal gangs. And if there is deployments, if the police is on top of things and they are deploying people to be able to confront them, I think it's a positive development.
All right, moving on now. Last week, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, that's EFCC, made another eye-catching discovery of huge cash when it seized $2.8 million from 2 suspects at the
streets. We have too many young boys, too many boys my age and below who wake up in the morning and have nothing to do.
jobless.
That statement, and I don't mind this devil's workshop, comes very handy in this case. These boys will do anything just to get by. One of the places in Lagos here, I get frightened when I'm passing through Really, because I see boys at 3 in the afternoon just sitting down.
Really, Gomu?
Or really, yeah, just that when you come out from Surulere and that stretch, you see boys just sitting down doing anything. One of the again in this Lagos,
I'm through Bariga too.
No, I've taken it. I've made it a point of duty to avoid Bariga after the last time I saw something there.
Me?
After the last time I saw something there.
No.
Or is it? I have cousins who live in Femi Okunu in Lekki, and I'm frightened for them because just across there's Jakonde, and you have so many boys who have nothing to do. All it takes is for somebody with the means to sort them to cause trouble, and you have mayhem.
I'll go with him. I'll go with him talking about Zamfara, because weeks here we've been discussing Zamfara, and this week we are here worried. Next week the news will come. Certain things are in the pipeline, and Ayo is there. He knows my usual response to that. I think we've had enough of plans. Let's see things happening. Zamfara is fast becoming another unattended to chaos. The Boko Haram situation we have on our heart today largely is a product of nonchalance on the part of the system. Because if we say government, somebody will tell me that was Jonathan's government. It's a continuum. This thing is, it continues.
Government is government.
Government is government. So we rather look at our system. What kind of system are we running? A system that looks at a situation that promptly needs military intervention and keeps the police on it.
And this is where
a system that looks at policemen being deployed to go and meet so-called bandits, being disarmed, killed, and then the system still believes that we still need to handle these people with kid's glove. I am worried that Zamfara is a spillover of what is happening in the Northeast. You see, one of the Boko Haram commanders arrested did say that some of their deserters, he used the word deserters, they now have deserters too. People who got tired of fighting and they need a place to just stay away from the chaos. Now what do? They move to Zamfara, they move to Kaduna, form gangs, dispossess people of their hard-earned money, kill people, maim people, and then go home to rest in the night. They don't have to face real war. These are the people operating in this area. Government should move in and do it swiftly. Yeah. We are taking it for granted.
I would like to look at it from the positive side. I think it's positive things for the deployment, because what we have in Zamfara, unlike Boko Haram is a terrorist organization. What we have in Zamfara is basically criminal gangs, and the only way you can confront them is to deploy more policemen to do that. But I agree that we have to look for the root causes of the problem in Zamfara, which has to do with making it easier for our youth to be recruited, or the willingness to join criminal gangs. And we must also look at what they said by saying that we must look for those who are sponsoring these gangs, because sometimes some of them are used as soldiers of fortune. When there's a crisis somewhere, they recruit them as mercenaries and all that. But basically, they are criminal gangs. And if there is deployments, if the police is on top of things and they are deploying people to be able to confront them, I think it's a positive development.
All right, moving on now. Last week, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, that's EFCC, made another eye-catching discovery of huge cash when it seized $2.8 million from 2 suspects at the Akano Ibiam International Airport in Enugu State Thursday, but this time a bank has claimed ownership of the fund through a letter to the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, which it states that the movement of the cash was routine and should be released. On the other hand, the EFCC says investigation is ongoing in the cash saga. Are we supposed to be witnessing this kind of huge cash in a seeming cashless economy? Sheta, what's happening?
I think
Is this another Ziggy?
The EFCC absolutely messed up in this. That rush to go to the media to plaster the faces and say that and make accusations of money laundering. And the bank, there's no Union Bank said it is our money, and Union Bank actually took to social media to accuse the EFCC in addition to writing a letter. Also, Bankers Warehouse, the company involved who does cash in transit for Union Bank, also wrote to the CBN. This is the only thing that I'm a bit I think disappointed is that they haven't sued, because what the EFCC by that action has done is they've endangered the lives of those two guys who they displayed as money launderers. They've also exposed the manner in which this cash is moved. Oh. In a cashless economy, there is still cash
to be dispensed.
I mean, so within city limits, they use bullion vans to transfer money. We have Bankers Warehouse, we have BML, we have a few of these organizations that are legally licensed by the CBN to move this money. Within states, they have only one option to fly. So the assumption is that their mode of operation is that they use a bullion van with the appropriate security to get it to the airports, and then they check in. The moment they check in, and we've all been through airports before, the moment they check in, the security people cannot follow them. And that's a safe zone. You're not going to see people coming in with machine guns. We're not in the way Lagos Airport was reported to be in the mid-90s. So we're not going to see people coming with machine guns into Akano Ibiam Airport in Enugu to say, oh, give us the dollars. And then when they land in Lagos, there will be security. We have all landed in Lagos and we have seen bullion vans waiting outside the airport. So it is only logical to assume that that is the cash in transit. So you've exposed how these people move their cash. And even in a cashless society, there's still, sometimes you still want your cash. Even in, say, the US, there are people who want to see their cash. There are people who have a mindset. And then we consider that we live in a country where half the time, outside of Lagos and Abuja, network no dey work. Okay. So you cannot.
The internet, something is really.
So these people actually, the story that BW gave was that they moved that cash from Newi and Onitsha to Enugu, which is the hub of business. To Enugu, which is so essentially they have two options. Either they move the cash from the closer airport is Asaba, but the thing is Asaba Airport only recently reopened. So it is very possible that they have been using it as Enugu has become their regular transit hub. They move the cash because it's a relatively short distance. It's less than it's roughly an hour. If the road wasn't bad, it would be less than an hour from Newi to Enugu, and then you fly to Lagos. It makes sense. So for me, the real worrying thing here is that it shows the way EFCC has been investigating. So EFCC has said the investigation is still ongoing, but you had already gone to press.
It's ongoing.
I mean,
they don't investigate Jack.
You see, for me, EFCC, as usual, we say it here, this media trial thing, while it is helping the man who is in charge to hype himself.
Ibrahim Mustafa Magu?
Well, I don't.
That's the man now. You are stating the obvious now.
What I'm saying is, why is happening to?
You are playing politics today. I don't understand this dodgy.
The topics you have here today are such that things that are obvious, and you still want us to discuss and tell these people they are wrong. I think there is a Yoruba day that says "Enu burumo onwe into my funny," and then you want me to tell them they are wrong.
Translate. I don't speak Yoruba.
That a man who is wrong knows he's wrong, but he's only looking for somebody to tell him. Now look at this situation. If EFCC had not rushed,
the man who is wicked.
Who is wicked? Yes.
Wicked,
who is wicked? Thank you. That's the interpretation. If they had not rushed to the media, you have this on your hand and you thoroughly investigate it, you will sooner or later discover that this was a mix-up. Sorry, take your bags of money and get out. Then they won't have to offer explanation to anybody. That is on one hand. The usual practice of EFCC to go for media trial, quickly hype what they have done when they have not even done it. They assume they got a thief, while in actual fact, the man should still be a suspect. That is one. On the other side, and some of the feelers we are also getting from some quarters now is that it's not as simple as we want to paint it. There are some questions. When you go into the airport and you want to fly to Lagos, Enugu Airport, with that kind of money, are there procedures for you to declare such money before moving into the aircraft? If there are, I'm asking questions. Was that cash tranche declared? If it was declared and EFCC got to that airport, did EFCC ask the procedures through which that money got to the point where they intercepted it? These are questions they ought to have had.
Let me just add. My problem with the EFCC is that they don't have the resources and the personnel to do thorough investigations. So most times they depend on people to write petitions, and then they ask you to come and convince them that you are not guilty.
Yeah, so he said, she said.
So that's the problem that I have with the EFCC. In this case, yes, we are in a cashless society, but like he said, we still have to move cash.
Yeah.
In banks, when you go to banks and you want your basic travel allowance or business travel allowance, or you have a domiciliary account and you want to travel, you want to withdraw money from your domiciliary account, where will the cash come from? You understand? Where will the cash come from? Yeah. The banks must have this cash, and like he explained, if the cash is not in a particular place where you need that cash, you have to move it, and the only way you can move it is by here. My only problem with them, with the EFCC, is that if they should stop this media trial that they do, it just shows laziness. It shows laziness, because if they had waited, in the course of investigation, they will have known that this money was moved by a company. Like he said, now they've caused a major problem. They'll be able to let people know that is how a lot of dollars, because that's a lot of money. Yes. That's how they move a lot of dollars, and it can encourage criminals to go for these people who move this kind of money.
To answer the question that Mr. Dari raised, to my knowledge, and there's possibly that there's a knowledge gap here, but to my knowledge, when you are moving, there's no limit to what you move within the same jurisdiction.
Yes.
It is when you are moving out
that you declare.
that you now declare.
Lagos and Enugu.
Lagos and Enugu are the same. No, it's the same jurisdiction.
How? No, because when you're in Enugu, when you want to check money here,
yes,
you have to declare it sort
That's
of.
what I'm saying.
No, not declare, not legally. What I'm saying is that you cannot move 2.8 million and just put it in your bag and enter. No,
that's what I'm saying.
No, because even when you want to check in, you want to know the content. No, you will inform the officials that you have cash.
That is, Mayor, that's what I'm saying.
And the officials, it will be, of course,
we shouldn't say about, we shouldn't say it was done.
Well, the point is Lagos and Enugu are within the same jurisdiction. EFCC covers is one entity that covers that jurisdiction. The Nigerian Police Force is another entity that covers that jurisdiction. ICPC is another entity that covers that jurisdiction. So as long as there was a letter, and the bank said that there was, Banker Warehouse said that there was, as long as there was a letter to the CBN talking about the cash movement, then legally they are covered.
Yes.
And I suspect that they are right that there was that letter. Otherwise, they would not have come out so strongly to say that this is what.
There's no way they will move that money without informing the CBN.
If it is legal,
it is legit.
No, because until proven otherwise, I want to be as skeptical as possible.
The requirement of security again, was necessary from Newi to Enugu, and then from landing at MMA. But in the air, if you were in a plane, and those guys entered, and then some people carrying guns follow them to enter, you will not be happy, you will not be comfortable. So the moment they check in and they are airside of the check-in counter, they don't need those men.
Let me raise something. Do you remember one attack that happened at Muritala Mohammed, I think about 3 years ago, 2015 or something?
Yes.
It was because, unknown to a lot of people, these borrow the change people, they used to come together and they used to move dollars at a particular day of the week to Dubai.
To Dubai, yes.
They do that every time.
Yeah.
So this gang knew that they used to do that, and they came for that money. But unfortunately for them, they've already moved the money into the airport before they arrived. And by the time they got to those offices, they've already moved the money. Now, what they have done is that a lot of people may not know that they moved that kind of money too locally. Now they've exposed it, and then people may know that that is why we have to tell the FCC
all the
they should be professional.
Was go to the necessary offices within that.
No, you can even take the money. You can take the money and in the course of investigation, and in the course of investigation,
yes, even before going for the money, you could have well checked with CBN.
We have information process here was that they went to the media straight.
No,
you can take that money, hold it, because basically the best investigations really are those that the public never get to hear about.
And then you do it thoroughly and give us results.
When it is all done, we get to hear about it when you get a conviction.
What I'm even saying is that they could, they have information that such money is being moved. Ask CBN, are you aware of this? CBN
that's what I'm saying. They save the money, and that's then ask those guys to explain themselves. They will explain that we work for this company. We work for this company. This money is owned by a union bank.
This is what they are doing.
Approach to investigation. I have to call it a day. It's I want to thank you so much, Mayor Akipolo, for coming at the shortest notice.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas to you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Dario, do for all.
Pleasure. And Happy New Year in advance.
Happy New Year in advance. We're counting down to the end of 2018. And Cheta, if you are around us, with us, if you are not,
well, I'll soon be out.
I say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you in advance, and that's our offering today. I say Merry Christmas to all our viewers out there again. And that's all for Journalist Hangout today. Join us tomorrow. Yes, Christmas Day. We don't have a choice. We are going to be here. You can watch the repeat broadcast tonight. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on our platforms showing on the screen. We're also on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Ozumako. Merry Christmas and see you tomorrow. God bless Nigeria.